World of Tanks. I keep meaning to do more videos, and I think it's been about a year since I did an actual video, rather than, something from a stream or just something I pulled off my shiny camera, footage of fireworks. So, here's some footage of World of Tanks. This is pre-version 1.0. The graphics are still pretty decent to my mind back then. But this was taken in April of 2017. Yeah, April. I can read. It's basically two clips on my grinding journey to get the FV215B183 something or other. It's called the Death Star by most people in World of Tanks. If you want the stats of this thing, I sort of highlighted them in the background there. But for the most part, there are other videos and other sources of information for that. My clip today is just, as I said, it's two battles of me driving the Tortoise, which is a very slow but high damage per minute tank. Prior to the introduction of the Badger, the tier 10 that follows it now, it was, I believe, the highest DPM, or damage per minute, tank of any vehicle in the game. Now, this is a little bit of a bad habit of mine. I do tend to alt-tab out of a game while I'm waiting for it to load in, so I tend to sit around for a few seconds. My tank's now loaded, and oh hey, I'm woken up. Now, as I said, this thing's really slow, and I have a fair bit of distance to travel, so through the magic of editing, I'm going to cut out the part where I spend the next week traveling to my firing position. And hey, here we are. Well, almost. This little hill in front of me provides me a pretty decent vantage. If you can sort of see the map down in the right hand corner, it gives me a pretty decent vantage down this side. Now, unfortunately, my team on the other flank aren't going to fare very well. Slight spoiler. And I don't know what happened there. I jerked the mouse up or something just as I went to fire, so that shot went sailing right over his head, and I basically gave him a warning shot. I don't know where that one went. I think it just buried itself in the dirt in front of him. Hey, there we go. 385 damage, I've damaged his tracks, and again, we might have hit him there, I don't know. I don't have the endgame stats, so I can't show you that. Let's see, so that was a T-34, I believe. This is an E-100. These things have a pretty impressive amount of armor. Oh, and our friend the T-34 momentarily showed himself. Nope, can't get a shot on the E-100, at least not one I'm satisfied with. But, he knows I'm there. He knows there is a Tortoise hiding from view that hasn't been spotted. And, we just keep basically camping. You can complain about this playstyle if you like, but I'm in a very slow, very heavily armoured tank destroyer. What I have going for me is my fire rate, which is something like around every 4.3 seconds. I feel sorry for this guy. He did not have a good game because of me. And his game ends. But on the bright side, he can now go into a different match. And I now retrack the E50M, that's a tier 10 medium, German. And now I'm actually doing damage to him. Now, down below me is a light tank, which we would have seen advancing, as well as the E100. They're both moving up. And that IS-3, I didn't want to expose myself too much here, because if I do, I risk being hit by artillery, I risk, oh, there you go. The little T92, I think it is, managed to put a bit of damage into my cupola, the commander's cupola on the right there. However, he made the mistake of sitting in front of a Tortoise that, whilst I don't have his fire rate, I have a much higher damage potential than he does. The E100 just finished off the IS-3, and the E100's in a really bad position too. He's advanced too far. There's not a lot that his teammates can do to support him. Don't ask me why I keep jerking the mouse up like that. I guess I was just feeling the strain at this point. I don't know. Now, I'd spent a large portion of this match being unspotted, and okay, he knows I'm there, but he's got to face the threat. He has to try and deal with all of us. There's another IS-3 down there, and okay, the other Tortoise takes him out. I take a hit, it bounces from a T-54. We'll be seeing him again soon. I'm just sort of repositioning, trying to make sure he's not coming that way. This is a T-28 prototype, I think. I feel sorry for him too. I don't know how good of a game he could have had. You'll see a lot of people complain about the ±2 matchmaking. What that basically means is that for this tank it's a tier 9. It can only see as high as tier 10 because that's the highest tier in the game, but it can see all the way down to tier 7. And tier 7 tanks don't really stand that much of a chance against a tier 9. It's doable. Now this guy, I think he's stock or I've damaged his engine, because there's no way he should be this slow. I'm trying to track him again here, it didn't quite work out. The IS-7 finishes him off, and I don't have any macros or anything bound to say thank you, so I just go affirmative. I hope he interpreted that as a thank you, and if not, there's not much I can do about that. So now we move down the flank, and you can see, as I mentioned, I made a few attempts at this, so I can't remember if I mentioned now. You can see on my right hand of the map, the other flank didn't fare too well. It kind of collapsed. Our artillery is still alive. It's a bat chat 155-58. If it's the tier 10, I can't remember. It might be. It is a tier 10 match. And the preview window on this kind of garbles the fonts a bit. But he's an autoloader. He can basically pump a round out every couple of seconds before having to do a really long reload, which for artillery is kind of monstrous. Hey, it's our friend the E-50. And I whiffed that shot so hard. But I'm ready to go again. As I mentioned, this thing is really slow. Probably get it, you know, it'd be a lot faster if my crew got out and walked. Just continuing to scan ahead of me just in case the E-50M or, you know, something else pops out. At the moment our teams are fairly evenly matched in terms of what we've got left. We have an IS-7, they have the E-50M I believe, they've got their artillery, and they've got 2 tank destroyers. We have our heavy tank, 2 tank destroyers, and artillery. They've just lost the E-50M. But the Conqueror gun carriage, it's an orbital ion cannon. It can basically shoot in such a fire arc that it can hit almost anything, almost anywhere. It's characteristic of a lot of British artillery, I think. Gotta probably stop hitting my microphone. Characteristic of some of the British artillery, at least. There we go, there's one of their TDs, it pops up. I take a shot, do a little bit of damage. Tortoise gets in there. Now, I've made a mistake here. You can see the IS-7 right next to me on my right. I'm way too close to him. I should have moved away from him because that happened. Their artillery lands a hit right between us, hits both of us, and resets the cap counter a fair amount. But there's 3 of us in the cap. We've got something like 15 seconds now to cap. There's less than 30 seconds left in the game. It's pretty tense at this point, because if we get reset again, that's it. We lost. Now we've capped, we've won, I'm spotted, their Scorpion's dead, and the Conqueror gun carriage, he's probably not going to show himself, so victory to us. And that's the end of that replay. This next one, it's more of the same. I do fairly well in these two games at least. This one I make a couple of mistakes, and I do a couple of things where I genuinely do feel a little bad for what I do to some of the enemy players. I shouldn't, it's a game, and it's part of the game, it's part of the game mechanics, but I do still feel a little bad. I do get asked by people, you know, when I do play artillery, am I careful about taking my shots? And of course, I want to do damage to the enemy team, I want to win the match. Some people who play artillery aren't very careful, they don't care if there's a friendly teammate there, they take the shot anyway. I got another video up on here where I showcase just that. I'm making the effort, like I can't take the shot, because if I do, there's a good chance I will damage my teammate, I will probably even kill them, and I don't want to do that. It probably costs the teammate, their life in the game, but it's not worth the damage penalty. Even if it is very small in World of Tanks. Now, slowly advancing, very, very slowly across the field. This map's based on Overlord, I think it is. Basically part of the D-Day landings. D-Day landings. God. You know, I've had more than enough sleep, I've not been drinking, and I'm still slurring my words. For a Filipino, I'm pretty bad at this talking thing. So here I am, making my way into position. I wouldn't recommend following my videos as a this is how to play the game type thing, especially since I do tend to be out of position or in the wrong position. I would not call myself a great player by any stretch of the imagination, and I've been spotted, so I'm probably going to have a bad time of it. At least you think I would. Right, I bounce a shot, I take another shot there from a Tiger 1. This is a tier 9 game, and you're at a tier 7. Characterized as tier 9 for those who don't play the game, because it's the highest tier in the match. I got a Tiger 1, I mean, he can damage me, he can. My health and my DPM far outstrip his. Now I'm in a really good position, because this thing has great gun depression, it can lower its gun something like 6-7 degrees, maybe more, I'm not 100% sure. Again, if you want the stats you can look that up. And yeah. So I think it's tier 9 game. T69. I have one and I hate it. Or at least I'm not a big fan of it. Its gun's underwhelming, among other things. But now I'm having a field day here. This is a great position. And he moves just before I can reload in time. I don't think I had brothers in arms on this tank just yet. This Tiger 2 is having a really bad game because of me. Malova gets a nice hit against me there. Again, probably against the cupola. That's what everyone's aiming for. It's the weak spot on the front of this tank, especially when I'm in a position like this. For those of you watching full screen, you can probably see that my cursor lights up green. That's the game trying to tell me you've got a chance of penetrating this shot. Not 100% to be trusted, but still, it's a decent little indicator. It's a little helper. That Scorpion was really lucky. If I had reloaded in time, he would have had a bad day. Now I think he's just trying to spot me, and I make him regret it because he is still spotted. here's the thing. I think what I do here is a little bit of a mistake. I'm trying to push to make them realize, make them come, or at least to make them turn around. And when I say come, as in come to me. Get your minds out of the gutter. My support's pretty much gone on this side now, it's just me. So I feel like I made a bit of a mistake in trying to push there where I did. I do not have the best turning speed, but it's still enough to beat this guy who's trying to circle me, and he just does not have the turret rotation speed to take advantage of that. I track the lever, but I have a higher DPM. I've got a greater chance of basically murdering the crap out of him than he does of doing that to me. For every shot he fires, I can put out 2. Just here, there's my friendly T-54E1, I think it is. Their shot bounces. I get the killing blow. The Lever and the Tiger. The Lever had an okay game, I think. Probably not the best game. The Tiger 2, though, he did not have a good time of it. But the enemy team's still in it. There's only 2 kills difference. And you can find any number of videos where there's only 1 player left on the enemy team and they manage to win against 6 others. I'm not that kind of player. I don't think I've actually managed to achieve that. I don't think I have. I can't remember. I've played this game for a few years now, since closed beta, so it's been a while. However, I do not have the crazy number of games that some players do. I think I'm only up somewhere around the 10,000 mark, maybe? I'm not sure. I'd have to go look it up. And there are people with 50 and 60 and 72,000 games under their belt. And they have almost every tank in the game. I have a few tank lines fully researched. There was a time where I devoted a lot of evenings and some weekends to this game, but not anymore, unfortunately. I either don't have the time or unfortunately just don't have the motivation to play anymore. It's a pity because I do still enjoy this game. Well, those few times where I sit down to play it. And its recent update, I might do another video at some point. It's a recent update. It's gone from looking pretty decent. These graphics are pretty good for what it's trying to be. It's World War II / early Cold War era tanks. You don't need the latest and greatest in graphical quality to achieve that. If I'd been a little faster, I could maybe have saved a Scorpion G. Now I take a hit from the enemy Tortoise. The ISU-152 is with us, and we've got a Tortoise S1. So I heal my loader. Because I spotted the Tortoise when it fired at me, I get credit for damage to him, which is nice. The enemy Tortoise is now dipping down out of sight, line of sight. You got an AT-15 coming up this way. Yeah, that thing has a decent rate of fire too, but it has very low alpha damage. The Tortoise S1. I can't remember what happens to him. I think he dies. Spoilers! The AT-15 does not have a good time of it. I kind of felt the AT-15's weaknesses were just too glaring. It has a whole host of weaknesses on its front. You basically want to stay hidden as best you can. And the thing is, you can't always do that. You sometimes do have to keep moving up, because if you don't, the battle line leaves you behind, and if one flank breaks, then you're sort of left in the back and forced to try and fend off everyone. Now, I'm very much a one-shot for the enemy Tortoise. I've spent a little too much of my health in this match. And health is definitely a resource. It's something you should nurse. But I've not done a very good job of that. There's a few times where I probably could have positioned myself better or moved so that my weak spots were not quite as obvious to be hit. Perhaps if I'd managed to kill the lurver or put in damage to him sooner, it wouldn't have taken me as many shots to kill him, but that's not always the way. Anyway, the enemy Tortoise, it's currently jousting with our Storsvagen S1 and the ISU 152. The Storsvagen does not have a good time of it, and our ISU is still there, and he's just holding him off because whilst he can't one-shot him unless he gets really lucky and ammo racks him, he can still do a decent amount of damage to him per hit. And he has to consider that there's also, you know, a dude sitting in cap, so whilst he might be able to kill me, he doesn't really know. Well, he probably has a guess as to how much health I've got left. If he's got a mod that sort of reports spotted vehicles and how much health they have left, then he's good to go. Watch the cap counter. I make a mistake here. I should not have fired, but I've capped. We've won. I take a hit right through the front. He fires gold. You know, as you do. And hey, that was part of the Odyssey onto the tier 10. Of course, it occurred to me after I had finished doing all of that voiceover of me listening to myself talk that I did actually keep the end of match stats for both of those. Turns out these were actually recorded in December of 2017. Well, thereabouts anyway. Not much to say. They're not the best matches in the world. I did have a few bonuses running in this particular match, but for me they were pretty bumper matches. I think I did over 6,000 damage in both, which for me is unusual. I'm not the best player in the world. I'm fairly average, if anything, and because I take such long breaks between my long stints of playing, I go back to being a pretty below average player, especially if you look up my stats. And this thing here is why I took all the time to basically grind out and get this thing. This is the Death Star. Again, if you want stats of it, you know, they're easy enough to find. But yeah, that was two matches in Tortoise just to get this. It is still in the game, but you can no longer purchase it. It's been replaced by the Badger. One day I will actually play it though, because I did spend a couple of months grinding out to it. Ugh.